The next slide I'm going to talk about are all of the myths regarding differentiation. The first myth, Andy, if you'd come up here, please. I want you to hold this up here and stand right at this spot. And I'm going to talk about this. This is Andy. It says, differentiation means unbalanced workloads. If you can read that, differentiation means unbalanced workloads. It's absolutely incorrect. That is a myth. It does not create unbalanced workloads. Actually, what research says that it creates more motivation, the teacher feels more motivated, and the students feel more motivated, and they love coming to school. So that is a myth. Andy, if you place that on the top, go ahead. And I'll have Dorian come on down. Dorian, I want you to look at our next myth. And what does this say, Dorian? It says differentiation equals individualization. I get this all the time. You know what? I don't have time to individualize for every student. Okay? How long did it take you to do the equalizer? A couple seconds, 10, 20 seconds. You can just put circles, 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 and you would have one. And notice what I wrote down at the bottom. Actually, a teacher would go nuts implementing an individualized education plan for every student. It just cannot be done. The individualizing is very temporary, and it's done as necessary. Let me explain that to you. For example, I come over here, and I go up to Paula, and Paula is working on some on a task that we've assigned, but Paula is having some difficulty with it. And I just go up to her and I say, Paula, we might want to use a different method. Let me show you a different method or a strategy. Here's what I'd like you to do. Take this highlighter, Paula, and I want you to highlight all of the words that you're having difficulty with today. And I'm only using the highlighter with Paula. Guess what I'm doing? I am differentiating. Notice that? This is differentiated instruction. It is not an individualized IEP. Thank you, Paula. All right. So, does that make sense? It is not individualization. We would really go nuts doing that. Go ahead and put that up. The next one is Kelly. Kelly, come on down. And this one says, I love this one. It says, I taught it. I taught it, and it's up to the students to learn it. Hey, I just taught it, and it's up to them. No, that's not true. Teaching is not telling. If it were telling, we'd all be so smart we couldn't stand ourselves. And that's Mark Twain, by the way. So if you are in this modality and you're thinking like this, please rethink your position, rethink your philosophy. It is truly, you are there, you are that teacher, you are that guide, and you need to take it to the next level. Thank you. You can go ahead and put that one up. And Paula, you want to come down? The next one is also interesting. It says, Paul would hold that up, there is only one way to differentiate. There is a myth out there that actually people say there's only one way. And you know what? Some administrators out there feel like we're only going to do it this way. This is it. Actually, no. You have the flexibility to weave and dance with this stuff and be creative, be innovative. And I'm going to share with you 2 different types of classrooms and show you how one compares to the other. But what works in one classroom does not necessarily work in another, but pieces of it might. So we don't want a cookie-cutter DI strategy. That's what we are saying. The other thing is, half of differentiation is the teacher's mindset. Am I teaching so students best learn? So you gotta create a mindset. Thank you. So, and here's one, and I'm going to hold this one up, and it says, students will be unprepared for tests. Actually, that is not true. They actually will be more prepared for tests, because what will happen is that you're going to have authentic learning engagement experiences that they find meaningful, motivational, and engaging, and you can read up the rest about it at the bottom, okay? And my favorite slide is this one here. I'm going to this is what differentiated instruction is actually all about. if you can zoom in right here, it says teachers begin where students are and not where the teacher is. Wow. Does that make sense? Which one's happening more? You know it. You don't have to raise up your hand, because I know you know it. But this is where we need to begin. We need to know where they are, and we need to move them to that next level. And that's what differentiated instruction can do for you. All right, now it's time to actually get into it and talk about the 10 strategies that will support differentiation. And I'm going to go through each one, give you a couple of examples, and if you have questions, feel free to stop me. Now, these are not the exclusive 10. This is 10 that I have found in my research that I found them to be at the top. You can use these strategies. They're more for elementary and preschool. There are some strategies in here more for middle school and high school as we go along. The first strategy is stations. Yes, if you're not doing stations, you're not doing differentiated instruction. Stations, let me explain that to you. Stations are different spots in your classroom that you could set up and where students are allocated different tasks and assignments working on different things. Okay? You could have a station, a math station, where they're working on just division. Another station that's building up from that division and going on to multiplication, and that's building up onto fractions. So you have a developmental sequence of stations. Stations, you can do it a couple ways. You can do it developmentally, where one task builds on another, or you can do it the fragmented piecemeal approach, where they get a little piece here, a little piece here, also known as the jigsaw method. How many of you know about the jigsaw method? Yes, and that would integrate really well with the station method, okay? And it would work really, really well with kindergarten, middle school. Also, I've seen stations work well, even at high school, okay? The next strategy, the one I also like, is called orbital studies. This strategy came from Chris Stevenson in 1997. In the orbital study, what he did was, like you create an orbit, it is a 3 to 6 week independent study or an investigation where students are specifically looking at one thing. For example, they're looking at, I know when I was in Williamson County, special ed supervisor, we had the saving of the Harpeth River at that time. We did an orbital study on how to save the river. Everything was tied to that river. Math, reading, writing. It was meaningful, it was engaging, even politics, because the students had to go up to to the county commission, ask for money and give reports on the condition of that river. Okay, so it would be an excellent PBL strategy, and the PBL stands for problem-based learning. Okay, and each student will have an opportunity to select their own topic based on this orbital study. So this orbital study is 3 to 6 weeks. It's thematically based, and you can integrate this and have an orbit created for your entire K-5 school. And 3 to 6 weeks, everyone in school will be focusing on this one thing, but we're going to infuse math, reading, writing, literature, English, everything into it, and we all get done. Just imagine if a whole school did that. K-5 school. Wow, what an opportunity. The next one that I also like, and this is more early elementary, are the use of centers. How many of you know what centers are? Okay, centers are a great way to differentiate. And also what's good about centers is that you are adjusting to the different learning styles and learning needs. And you could actually have a center for math, you have a center for reading, a center for art. Okay? I know that this might not be possible at the middle school level or the high school level, but centers are a great way where students are independently involved. Notice here with differentiated instruction, there's not much instructing. Did you notice that? There's more facilitation, there's more coaching, there's more mentoring, there's more scaffolding. You're building upon what they know. You're giving back the ownership of the learning to the student. You are, in effect, the guide by the side. And centers are a great way to start this. Here's one of my very favorites of all the strategies. This is one I love a lot, and I'll tell you why. Because this strategy is inclusion friendly. It's inclusion friendly, because all students can participate in the general education classroom through tiering of your activities. Let me explain this. If the camera would focus in on me, I'm going to actually do a demonstration. Okay, if you can imagine, I'm in my classroom. I have 25 students all in a straight line behind me. We're all going to be focusing, this is just sort of a metaphor, on one topic. We're going to be studying ancient Rome. Of the 25 students, we have 5 slow learners, 5 who are gifted, advanced, all right? So they're all with me. I go down this pathway. We're all going to study ancient Rome. We're going all on the same topic. Now here's the beautiful part. I actually create tiers next, different roads. If I go left, it's tier 1. If I go sort of to the left again, it's tier 2. Straight ahead is 3, and then there's 4, tier 4. So I've got 4 different tiers. Each pathway has a different task or a different activity associated with it, but we are all studying ancient Rome. A tier 1 activity would be for a slower learner. A tier 2 activity would be slightly above. Tier 3 would be for your average learner. A tier 4 activity would be someone who's more advanced. And in each one of those tiers, you provide opportunity to choose different tasks or different activities for them. But it is developmentally sequenced. So if someone completes a tier 1 activity, yes, they can move on to tier 2. Or 3. If somebody wants to start out at a tier 4 activity and know they can do only tier 1, why not just have them do it? Then what happens automatically is, oh, I can't do the tier 4 activity. Let me give you an example of the tiering. In my tier 1 activity, my students will be summarizing ancient Rome chapter 12, and they're just going to report back. My tier 2, they're going to summarize ancient Rome, and they're going to answer 3 questions. My average students will be summarizing ancient Rome, answering 3 questions, plus they're going to write a personal story. And my students who are gifted, they're going to summarize, read, and they're going to hypothesize and do a small-scale study about some aspect that they found interesting. And that's just a quick example of how you could tier activities, okay? All of your students are in the same classroom, okay? You set up your grading rubric accordingly to each tier. And you could move your students from tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. Do you like that? You all see that as inclusion friendly? Yes. Tiering, if you're not doing it, you're missing out on an opportunity. Yes, yes, yes. So start thinking about tiering, okay?